My guest today is a former COO who turned disciplined operations into enterprise value, like we all love to see. He helped scale a 45-person service business by 300% in revenue, while, wait for it, headcount rose by 20. He protected retention below 9%. He helped drive a private equity exit at a record EBITDA multiple. And today he spends his time helping founders eliminate profit leaks and scale without the operational drag. A very warm welcome to Leadership That Sells. This is a podcast about the real conditions under which leadership and sales actually work and where they quietly break down. I like to talk to founders, to chief execs, sales leaders, and operators who've had to make the decisions when effort was high, when the pressure was real, and the usual playbooks didn't quite fit. So we're not here to trade slogans or fancy frameworks. What we're trying to do is to find patterns, things that consistently create momentum, and what gets in the way, and what experienced leaders eventually learn to stop doing. So if you are responsible for results and not just ideas, you are absolutely in the right place. Doug Levy, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Paul. I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
Absolutely. Listen, big first one off the bat. Revenue is growing, but your founder is trapped up to their ankles in the day-to-day stuff. What is usually the first operational lie the business is telling itself?
That's a great question. I would say the first operational lie the business is telling itself in that situation is really a lie that the owner is telling himself or herself, which is, this business needs me to do this specific thing. Because that's usually not true. A business that's growing has an owner or founder who has surrounded himself or herself with competent people that can do things. But when this person continues to get in the way and continue to meddle in the day-to-day where they're not needed and where other people surely have the skill sets to handle things, that's where things start to get a little sticky.
They're doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Yep, absolutely. And a lot of times they don't have the tools or the discipline to tear themselves away, or they need somebody to kind of, instead of them taking a trust fall, they need somebody to kind of push them off the ledge. I've had to do that in a number of cases and say to a founder, your manager can do this. The person at the front desk can do this. This person, you don't even need to be involved. You don't need to be looped in on the email. You don't need to know what the outcome is. They've got it. You focus on whatever your strengths are.
It was one of the best things that I learned how to do was to delegate well.
Yep.
And delegate and to be comfortable that once you've delegated, it's been delegated.
Yes.
Because if you learn how to do it well, and you don't just fire and forget, but you structure what you're doing. So you're talking about you're delegating, rather than delegating a task, you're delegating a problem.
Yes.
I don't want you to do this. I want you to solve this.
Yes. And the key to that, I think, is understanding and tempering your expectations. Because when people delegate, they often do so with the mindset that I expect this person to do it exactly the way that I would. And that's simply not the case. So in order to grow soundly and peacefully, you have to let people do things the way that they would do them. And you even have to let them screw up a couple of times.
Yeah.
And learn from those mistakes. So I think the reason that people don't delegate is they often say, this person just can't or won't do it the way that I can and would and do. And that's not the objective.
I mean, the objective is to surround yourself with some people who are smarter than you. If you're the smartest person in the room, you've got a problem with your hiring.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're the A player, you should be hiring A pluses. If you're the B player, you're hiring C's, right? That's just don't do that stuff.
Absolutely.
Hire to fill in your gaps. And if you don't know what your gaps are, go find any number of tools out there that'll do it for you, you know?
And even subordinates. I mean, I don't think that you have to necessarily have everybody around you be better than you, but even, things, you have to delegate things downstream. You have to delegate to people that are below you in the hierarchy, obviously not in a human way, but in a business hierarchy. And those people may not be as good as you as at something, but if they could do it 90% as well as you can because you've taught them and you've put the systems in place, then let them do it because you offloading your capacity to them and them doing it at 90% of your capacity is a win.
Yeah, totally.
It's a
Totally.
win. A lot of people don't see it that way.
Well, I think it goes to hiring as well. You go all the way back to, I think 80% of people problems are solved by hiring.
Yep.
You hire better. Hire
Yep.
somebody you'd want to work for, especially if you're
Yep.
hiring a leadership team. Who knows what will happen? Maybe one of these guys will be tapped up by the board and maybe you'll step to one side or at some point, who knows what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
So hire people you'd be comfortable and want to work for as part of
Mm-hmm.
your attitudinal step into place. Especially if you're a founder. I mean, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurial chief executives, and they all have this thing. They're typically young, become older, but they've always had authority. They've always had that I own the damn business. I can do what I want.
Yep.
And therefore will do it my way. And never been brought up in any sort of corporate environment, never been trained or had anybody to say, you cannot treat people like this, or this is
Sure.
a better way of doing it, or whatever. And delegating is one of those big things. It really is one of those big things, you
Or
know?
even thinking that what you think is serving you is not actually serving you. Sure, you can do whatever you want, but should you? And is that what's best for you in the end? I mean, even if you're not truly altruistic about it, if
Yeah.
you don't take care of people, you're going to put yourself in a position where they're going to leave and you're going to have to start all over. And then you just have a setback when you'd rather just be on a family vacation and cash in the checks at some point.
That's it. It is exactly that. I mean, it's what's the quote, the Mark Twain quote? It's the things that we know that just ain't so. It ain't what you know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure
Yeah.
just ain't so. That,
Yep.
love
I
that.
love that.
Yeah, very cool. So you did this magical thing here. When we talk about scaling, oh, I scaled the business. No, no, mate, you just spent somebody else's money and that those days are gone. Okay.
Sure.
You got
Sure.
some ZERP cash, you got a ton of cheap money, and you went off and you hired 1 million people. And I scaled my business from 10 to 3,000 people. No, you just hired people. That's not
Yep.
scaling. You,
Yep.
Doug, scaled revenue 300% without
Yes.
hiring too much.
Yes.
What were the non-negotiables that allowed that sort of productivity to come out and outpace payroll rather than match it?
Sure. So I think it's important for context that the scale took place from about $3 million in top line revenue to about $12 million in top line revenue. So I think that's important for listeners because it's just a different scale than 500,000 to 2 million or from 10 million to 30 million. So I just for context, it was 3
Yep.
million to 12 million. And we had to start doing things a little differently because what gets you to 3 million doesn't get you to 12 million. So we had to
Yeah.
change the way that we went about business and we had to incorporate some rigidity that you typically don't see in startups and early stage companies. Startups and early stage companies are all about everybody pitch in, the blurry lines give people the flexibility to get things done. And that makes total sense at that stage. But when you're trying to get from 3 million to 5 to 10 to 12 to 15, that no longer works. At those levels, everybody needs to stay in their lane and stay out of everybody else's way. Because bumper cars is okay at low speeds, it is not okay at high speeds. So I actually just came up with that one and we're keeping it. I'm going to write that down somewhere.
Good. It's good.
So yeah, so having more rigid systems where people stay in their lanes and it removes a lot of friction. And then the other thing is is using highest and best use principles for every single person on the team. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's basically making sure to the best extent possible that somebody isn't working below their pay grade. So you leverage somebody's talents and skills and the highest band of their capabilities, and you have other people do the work, or systems do the work that that person doesn't need to do,
Mhm.
even if it's part of the same task. So you do have to introduce some complexity, and handoffs and stuff like that. But if you build the systems the right way, it works. So we had 37 or 36 people at 3 million and change in revenue, and then we had 45 people at 12 and at almost at a little over 12 million in revenue.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do it. That's how you do it. Did you have, this is the question though. You went from 36 to 45, you said?
Yes,
Right. How many of those 36 stayed in the 45?
a good number of them. A
Mm.
good number of them. We got the weak players off the team. But I was lucky. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
There's
But I'll
fortune and luck, two different things.
Sure. I was fortunate. I love that. I was fortunate to have a group of really adaptable, bought in people working
Mm.
on the team. And I honed my skills at change management, which is super, super important because if you're going to grow like that, things are going to change and people have to just get in line. But the way that you get them to do that is with honey, not vinegar. So we found really, really great ways to, number one, help the staff understand, and in some cases, the clients understand the benefits of the changes that we made. So we focused on benefits, not features, right? So
Mhm.
it's not we're introducing this new piece of software that you have to use. It's this will make your job easier. And we also were very generous with pay. So we paid, we said, listen, if we can continue to do this work with the same number of human bodies, we can pay you more of the money. So we had above top of range salaries for our employees because they were doing the work of multiple people. So there were roles, for example, that in the market might have been $120,000. We were paying 160,000 plus bonuses because we had the
Yeah.
profitability to do that. So they were incentivized. We were going about it the right way, and explaining how things work. And also, we made sure that our ideas were fully baked because if you come out with a half baked idea and don't cover really all the edge cases, you can't, it doesn't work. So like just perfect example is when we first rolled out electronic signature capabilities, I wrote an 18-page internal document that covered literally every single scenario that my staff would have to worry about. And it went off perfectly. No hiccups, no problems. So they know when Doug is bringing a change, he's prepared and it's not going to make my life miserable for the next 3 months while we work out all the bugs.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the change management here, which is essentially getting people from one state to another, right?
Yes.
Now, the reason I asked if how many of the 36 were there in the 45 is that in my experience, I mean, I moved a bunch of Swiss Army knives into a cutlery set, right?
Mm,
So you move people who are generalists or special generalists into quite specific roles. And there
yep.
are just types of people who are not suited for that. Now, you said you get rid of
Yes.
the weak ones, which I'm sure happens everywhere. But I think you also end up with the people who are good at that stage, who are good at those ambiguous roles, who are not good or don't want to function in those sort of corridors.
People love clarity.
They do.
People love clarity. So even though somebody can be a Swiss Army knife, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily what they want to be doing or
Mm.
where they're best. So if you can take those pieces out of the knife and say this person is the best set of tweezers and this person is the best bottle opener, you talk to a Swiss Army knife and say, "Hey, what if you got to just be the best bottle opener you could be for the rest of your career?" They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing."
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, from the thinking about it from this the leadership angle, I think there's a commercial truth that your customers tend to see more quickly than anybody is you do. which is that if the machine is only running with your leadership intervening everywhere,
Yep.
it's not going to be a profitable business for very long, if
Yep.
it ever gets there. You know,
Yep.
what would you say is the reason that poorly disciplined hiring decisions destroy EBITDA way before anybody really notices damage to margin?
That's a great question. It Poor hiring
Mm,
leads to poor retention.
yep,
They're essentially the same thing. Yes.
yep,
So poor retention is by far the most damaging thing to a business because it's a cancer that eats the business from the inside out. You can deal with public relations problems, you can deal with product shortcomings, but when the business is dying from the inside because of retention, that's hard to fix and it's hard to notice sometimes. Um, what it does is there are so many unseen and unnoticed costs to a bad hire. So
mm,
typically, let's say you hire for a low level role, and let's say the role is $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month. That person's going to take time to ramp up, right? So they're not earning their full salary on day one because they're still learning, they're still training, they're still an expense, they're not providing value yet. If that person leaves after 6 months, we've paid them $30,000. But let's say their fully loaded expense with benefits and taxes and all that is $6,000 a month. So we've paid them $36,000. Let's say they were only 50% efficient throughout that first 6 months. So that means $18,000 of what we paid them is just a loss. So all right, listen, I lost $18,000 on this hire. Not the end of the world for a multi-million dollar business. We'll move on and we'll hire somebody else. But what else happens? Number one, throughout that time, you've had to manage that person much more closely. So you've got hundreds of hours of manager time, which is expensive and is several $1,000s. You've got teammates and peers that have to pick up for that person's slack. So now you're paying that person to do work that they weren't assigned. You have to start the recruitment and hiring process all over again. So those things lead to hundreds of hours of lost productivity. But one of the worst parts is the cultural damage that it does because your top performers see this happening every single time.
yeah,
And then the new person comes on the scene, and what do the A players say? They say, "Oh, boss hired another clown. Let's see how long this one lasts." And when those people, the A players, don't have the support that they need and aren't surrounded by the competence that they need to perform, they're going to leave.
yeah,
And those things don't happen overnight. They don't even happen over the course of a year, but they happen over the course of 5 years, 3 years. So those are the things. And then from the leadership standpoint, when you make a bad hire, you're not excited about the next one. You get confidence issues, you get gun shy about your next hires. So these are the things that don't affect the bottom line overnight or in 6 months or a year, but they affect the very DNA of the business and its ability to grow and succeed and capture talent and retain talent over the long term. And by my calculation, a bad hire, a hire that leaves after 6 months, costs you a minimum of 80% of that person's salary in calculable loss, plus the emotional loss, plus the cultural damage,
yeah.
which are
Well,
incalculable.
well, with bells on, absolutely. I mean, and the energy alone. I mean, I know it's easier in certain states in the US, but the energy alone in getting rid of somebody in Europe, the UK is not too bad, but other
Yeah.
countries, just you can't
Yeah.
fire someone that easily. It's
And
it,
that the stakes are so much higher in
so
in
high.
in in Europe than they are here.
Yeah.
Because here you can just you can wake up one day
You're
with
at
bad
will,
mood and just get rid of somebody.
you're totally, you're hired at
Yeah.
will. And I mean, there are employment rights for reasons and all that sort of good stuff.
Sure.
Fair enough. You get to pick where you live. Um, but yeah. the cost in a bad hire, well, as you say, 80%, I think it's way higher. I think it's way higher. It's like
Oh,
150.
absolutely. In many
Calculable.
cases,
You
it's
said
easily.
calculable. Fair enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that this is it. The bad part is that it turns into a repeatable cycle if you don't fix it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the tools to fix it. And that's something that I've noticed is that you don't you can't open a locked door by just pushing it harder. And that's often what people try to do, and they just end up making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over and over again.
And like most of these things, the solution doesn't lie somewhere else. The solution is always you look yourself in the mirror.
Yep.
Yourself in the mirror. He said, "Oh, I don't, it was the wonderful lines, Abraham Lincoln's one. He says, I don't like that man. I must get to know him better.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that
I
sort of
love
thing.
that.
It's the problem is in between the monitor and the chair. The problem is
Absolutely.
you,
Absolutely.
99.9% of the times. Yes.
And
Listen,
even if and I love that. I tell that to people all the time. Because anytime I start working with a new client or I hear somebody say, people don't want to work anymore, or I just can't find good employees. I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And I can't necessarily blame that person for feeling that way, but I can teach them that it's a misguided opinion in my humble opinion, because it means if you're not finding the right, it's kind of like when somebody's dating and like a woman is dating, it's men suck, or a man is dating, women just are terrible. It's that whole thing, the adage about when you're pointing a finger, you're pointing three other fingers back at yourself,
that's the
kind
one.
of thing.
Oh, I like that. That's good. There we go.
So people don't look in the mirror, people don't hold accountability. So
Everyone
it's
here's
not
an
them.
asshole except me.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, of course they are.
My all-time favorite is if it smells like shit everywhere you go, it's because it's on the bottom of your shoe.
Oh, you haven't wiped your arse properly. I don't know. One of these.
Yep. Yep,
There
that's
we
another
go.
good one.
Doug, what are you working on right now? What's exciting for you?
I've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. So I'm expanding. I'm expanding. I found my niche in a couple different verticals. Physicians. I found a lot of there's a lot of businesses where somebody gets into business because they're good at something and highly educated at something, except for running a business.
Yeah.
And I found that that's true with a lot of physicians. But it works all over small businesses. My big thing though is I'm working on. I've already launched a hiring system to help businesses overcome these patterns of making these bad hires and learn a different way to do it, a more disciplined way to do it, where if you just do it by the book every time, the biases don't creep up, the similarity bias, the halo effect, all those things, they don't creep in. So I've been really excited about helping business owners break that cycle that we've been talking about and hire properly and with more confidence and with more defensibility. So I'm doing some local workshops. I'm going to be doing some webinars, and I've got a really exciting product that I'm releasing over the summer.
Excellent. Well, we will put links to all of that good stuff in the description right here. I have one last question.
Hit me.
If I was to give you the world's largest Sharpie and a
Okay.
billboard at every international airport around the world, what would you write? What's your message? Doug's message to the world.
If we're keeping it within the context of
Doesn't have to be.
I want
Doesn't have to.
I got an answer. I got a good answer
You can have two.
for I got a good podcast answer
Go on.
for this audience. Because we're talking about leadership and we're talking about sales. Um, you get the behavior that you consistently reward, tolerate, and measure.
You get a behavior that you consistently reward, tolerate, and measure. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Because every organization, whether it's a family unit or a business, is shaped by incentives, and accountability.
Mhm.
So, and I've got another one, and this is one that I
Oh,
freshly stole yesterday from somebody that I was speaking to, is that in life, does your audio match your video? Are the things that you're saying, the things that are coming out of your mouth, are they matching your actions? Because if your
mm.
audio doesn't match your video, there's a problem.
Yeah, I think audio doesn't match the video. I like it. Oh, that's Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
that's her. It's something like when somebody shows you who they are, believe
Yep.
them.
Yeah, I think one of her
Yeah,
other ones is people will never remember what you say, but they'll always remember how you
remember
made
how you
them
made me
feel.
feel. That's it. So good, so good.
Yeah. I
But
love that.
on
That's
that
that's an
note,
operating principle. Yeah.
it totally is.
Yeah.
And on that, with an eye to scaling the things that matter in the right ways, I just have to say, Doug Levy, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Paul.